Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to turn my microphone up because I think it's fine, but great, thanks. So I've been coming to these things for like 10 years, and I feel like the crowd gets better and better looking every year, so I think maybe we should start off with a round of applause for you all. You know it. I remember when we used to meet at UBC Robson, and it was like 40 geeks in a room talking about HIV, and now we've got over 200 geeks coming out to these events, so we're really grateful for that. Thank you all. Good morning, friends, colleagues. Bienvenue, mes chers amis et collègues. Welcome to Summit 2017, Romancing the Package. In a few moments, several of our Indigenous partners will start the summit with a Rites of Passage ceremony. However, before I go any further with these remarks, I want to acknowledge that we're currently on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, and that we're grateful to be here, and that we continue to work on truth and reconciliation, both as an organization, which you'll hear about today, but also as a community. In the past few years, CBRC has been called upon to play a larger role, a national role. And this includes work outside of British Columbia, of course, and also more work with our French partners. So, if you could join me in welcoming nos amis de Québec, et aussi nos amis franco-ontariens, et les autres francophones ici aujourd'hui. This will be our first year including French content, as well as translated slides here in room 1900. So while this meant that many of you had to give us your slides early, and that was a different process than what we normally do at the summit, I want to thank you all for that because it speaks to your commitment to the summit, but also our commitment to better engage other populations. This is the 13th annual Gay Men's Health Summit, and it's my first summit as the managing director. And like many in this room, I've had the opportunity to stand on the shoulders of giants. And two of them are here today, our CBRC founders. And they are also our newly appointed senior advisors, Rick Marchand and Terry Trussler. Now, if you know Rick and Terry, you know they're rather humble people, so they're probably going to be upset with me for giving them this much attention, but I think it's well-deserved. Last year, Rick and Terry were not as present at the summit as in years past because they were writing what was a successful Public Health Agency of Canada grant. In doing so, they secured 5 more years of summit activities and also funding for our youth interventions and what will be CBRC's next intervention, a combination prevention program for men 30 to 50 years old. With that, Rick and Terry have ensured that CBRC will continue to play a role in structural change until 2022 at least, and they made my job a lot easier. So would you stand for a moment and let us give you a proper recognition? This year also marks another anniversary. It was Summit 2007, the last time our plenary speaker, Will Nutlin, was here. And at that summit, findings from the Sex Now survey were reported, and it was noted that 88% of gay men supported the idea of a standalone organization. Evidence that prompted Philip Banks and a group of passionate activists to start Health Initiative for Men, right here at Summit 2007. We know that since then, HIM has expanded their Davie Health Center. They have 4 clinics in the Lower Mainland. They've distributed millions of condoms and educated and inspired a generation of gay activists here in British Columbia. I'd like to ask Philip to stand. I believe our founder of Health Initiative for Men, Philip Banks, is here. Philip? And I also see the current Executive Director of Health Initiative for Men, Greg Oudman. Greg, will you take a stand? Because of their hard work, gay men in Vancouver have better access to testing, to HIV prevention services, to social supports, and we're better for it, so thank you. I've got a few more people to thank. Our programming committee, I had another slide. This was actually the 2007 Summit report and the news article where Philip started speaking about the need for a national gay men's health organization. Some people to thank: our programming committee, a group of hardworking gay men's health advocates who not only work in the field, but agreed to review more than 50 abstracts off the side of their desk and to provide advice and feedback on the program and also ensure that we're engaging diverse communities. So thank you, Sarah Chown, Joshua Edward, Rocky James, Nathan Lachowski, Rick Marchand, Roberto Ortez, and Fred Provenot. We also want to thank our community partners, the AIDS Committee of Toronto, Health Initiative for Men, MAX in Ottawa, Metro Vancouver Aboriginal Executive Council, Réseau, and YouthCo. And of course, none of this would be possible without the support of our sponsors, the Public Health Agency of Canada, Heritage Canada, BC Ministry of Health, and the BC CDC. And last but not least, I have to thank my team. We've got a fantastic board of directors. We also have a growing staff of talented gay men's health experts. We have our group of investigators and volunteers at every level of the organization. You're all fantastic, and I thank you. A few housekeeping items. A reminder that some people are sensitive to scents, so please limit or refrain from using those if possible. Also, Wi-Fi signals can bother those with environmental illness, so if you switch off your phone to airplane mode when you're not using it, that would be greatly appreciated. These are exciting times that we're living in. We're hearing things like largest drop in HIV diagnosis ever seen in London. We're seeing words like HIV elimination, acronyms like U=U, and PrEP. And we know that we're close to something big, but still far too many obstacles are in our way. Whether that be timely access to testing or access to tools like PrEP, it's our job as health promotion experts, as healthcare employees, as academics, to ensure that there's equal and equitable access to the tools that we know exist. And there are some folks that are doing that work. I showed this last slide because I think you're going to hear a lot from me about this, and certainly our keynote this morning, and hopefully throughout the summit. But I think we need to return to our activist roots. And we need to return to 1996, when we knew ARVs were a game changer, but they were still out of reach for far too many. We need to find that spirit again. It's why we brought activists like Will Nutland from Prepster, Damon Jacobs from PrepFacts, and Alex Smith of the Davy Byers Club to this year's summit. These are guys that saw a need and acted. And that's the thing, we know these tools exist, we just need to employ them in a fair and equitable way. So please spend the next 2 or 3 days discussing combination prevention and all its complexities, because we know that there is no silver bullet, and we know that if this is going to happen, we're going to have to do it ourselves. Even with the mounting excitement of the promise of PrEP, we know that our less privileged communities, Indigenous people, queer people of color, trans people, they're reminding us that PrEP is still so white. And that's not lost on us here at CBRC. In fact, in developing the program, we were very conscious of how white PrEP is, including the people taking it, prescribing it, and researching it. We know that some communities have been left behind, and it's the reason we're taking our truth and reconciliation work so seriously. We know that we have to be intentional about this work. We can't wait for communities to come to us. We have to be proactive. And we're committed to that work. We'll make mistakes, but we won't stop trying. As I mentioned earlier, here at CBRC, we partnered with MVAEC, the Metro Vancouver Aboriginal Executive Council. And this is a continuation of a commitment we made last year to the Truth and Reconciliation recommendations. And this morning, we're continuing that partnership. So I'd like to invite Kevin Barlow, CEO of MVAEC, and Ken Clement, the board chair of MVAEC, to speak to our evolving relationship.
Good morning, everybody. A lot of you may know Ken Clement. Ken, could you stand up for a bit there? Ken is the chair of our board. He's also the CEO for the Canadian Aboriginal AIDS Network, and most recently re-elected back to the school board as a Vision Party board trustee. So this morning we're going to have what's called Rites of Passage. Sometimes it's called a coming of age ceremony. I was just thinking of auctioning off my daughters, but they decide to dress up. So I want to thank you first for creating this safe space to have Indigenous people express themselves and come into a place where it's not an Indigenous gathering, but to have their culture recognized and celebrated. We are in Coast Salish territory, but people are in the ceremony are from different nations. And so what I'm going to be doing is introducing the elders here, Bill White and Florence James, and they're going to walk you through kind of an abbreviated ceremony, because sometimes ceremonies can go on and on, but we only have a certain amount of time. So at this point, I'll put it over to Bill and Florence.
This is really what's called a talking stick.
Good morning. We're into a special ceremony, and we just give you a very short version of it, as it takes all day to do the ceremony. But briefly, we're going to, as they come in after they've been blanketed, we're going to do a brushing with the cedar so that we can change the energy around their body, which is called an aura in English, and Sali over here in my Coast Salish language is stronger. So I may sin as we're brushing if this other sound isn't louder than I am. So usually the language puts energy stronger in the language, and it's like a prayer. It's not anything to do with religion. It's just to help the aura to remove what's negative using the cedar boughs, and they're already extending their branches upward. So they're ready for the ceremony. So the natures are very powerful, and there's new boughs on there already. So it's an introduction to the aura, plus just a beautiful energy placed onto the person. And if there's trauma, we use the rougher side, which will scratch you if you do the brushing too roughly. So there's a soft side and a gentle side, so we'll just gently go, just in case they're allergic to. And then we are wearing some of our regalia, and the blanketing represents the old ways of weaving the mountain goat wool into the blanket to give the person a very special honor and protect their hearts, so that, and their foreheads usually are wrapped, but in this case we're just using the blanket. So usually it's done at the river, so that we use water as the vitality. Everything that we do, their steps as they come in will be honored, so that we remove what's been placed by them by the mainstream society. So today is their new day, beginning of a new day, and Uncle's wearing red, so it represents a beginning of a new day. So a new addition to their life. Hi, Chika. Okay, Uncle.
Just very quickly, people, I'm going to walk and talk. I just wanted to thank you all for coming, for paying attention. What we're going to do today is really say to the young people, as tribal peoples all across what's called Turtle Island, say, you are welcome here. It's time to look at a new change in your life. We're going to open a new door for you so that you too will have the opportunity to become old. And to know what joy and cleanliness is all about. And so basically what we're doing is, as they walk in, a song will be sung for them. We as older people will be saying, we're going to, please come in, and we're going to be in our own thoughts and mind, begging them to let go any darkness, let go any sadness, let go any sorrow that they might have carried, saying this doesn't belong here anymore. Our old people believe that when you let these things go, then you will be gifted. You will be gifted, and some of you, our community already knows the great strength of intuition. And so when you let these things go, your intuition strengthens and develops. Song strengthen, prayer strengthen, teaching strengthen. And it's a way of bringing people in, say, you belong. You have always belonged. You have belonged since time immemorial. Gifts from your parents, your grandparents, and your great-grandparents are being brought forward. We've really begged our ancestors, which is why we dress this way, to say, welcome these young people. They have value. And because you're sitting here, you are very much like our family. And you're going to participate in this event as well, especially when the board members are wearing the red, because the red brings healing. Thank you. I was told to be succinct. Our old people never use the term succinct.
And so before we get the person to sing here, I think this is really important to acknowledge that there are many two-spirited or gay people that may have been ostracized by their communities and their families. And so this is another way of showing that we don't have throwaway people. Just because you're gay doesn't mean you should be thrown away from your culture and your communities. So this is a way of bringing people into the circle here. So Keen Tate is going to sing a song, and I'm going to, if you need to introduce yourself in your traditional language or anything, and then we're going to usher them in with a song.
Amahillukas nisip luam shqadi will hit amasat kuna saraidam toyaqsip nisimis lugadal wiqaltip tapsh tip masquim squamish qanslawatal toyaqsip nisip luam shqadi will witqui as nisip walax lwa wilps achti will luqada will witqui kid will utskax qanana ni Gilacht Amex ilachals apuldi witqui. Nods it ni. I said in my ancestral language, good morning. It is truly a blessed day to be among you. I first give thanks to the caretakers of these beautiful unceded lands and waterways of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh. As you are, I am a visitor to these lands. I've been here for 13 years now. And my Nisrat name is Walax, and my English name is Keen Tate. I come from the house of Achti Willurada, from the Gidwilduts Axe clan, from the Raven tribe, among the Nisrat people. And I said in my language that I am two-spirited. Our word for two-spirited is nods, and a person of two-spirit is nodsit. And then the pluralization is ganodsit. So I'm very honored to be here to share some songs as the procession comes in. The first song will be a blessing, a prayer for the individuals, asking for guidance and protection from our Creator. And the second song will be a cleansing chant, a song sung with cedar boughs by our dance group. I lead the Nisrat dance group here in Vancouver, and when our dancers enter with the cleansing chant, our dancers hold cedar boughs. We hold the same value of spirituality, connection to the tree as other West Coast nations do. I hope you enjoy the songs.
I'm
So the teachings for today is the beginning of a new day for you. And so as you're blanketed, you'll see that the blankets represent the sacred wool that the ladies used to put on our special honored person. It's not specific to gender. They just honored them for who they were as they began their rituals for the puberty rites and rituals. And so they were accepted into the community, not like today. So the teachings were meant for them to begin their steps. It's a new day, and once they're blanketed, they're not allowed to put their chin down because you'll feel the effects of the societies as you move around when you're too spirited. For us, we just have a word specific to the life and their body. It's called Salish, and so a lot of the teachings are meant for that. So blanketing, headdress like Uncle's wearing, protects your very spirit that's in your body. And the life of your body is the cedar boughs. So we take care of that always. And that's your new day. And you have to, that's why you're not allowed to lower your chin. So now you got to look straight ahead and build your path for looking straight ahead. And there is no looking back. You cannot turn as you're walking forward. So that way you're gathering your strength, and each person that you meet will guide you. And usually we have ushers that hold them to put out their hand, and you place your hand here. And so the whole community, now you begin to do that. You help each person that's been blanketed. So if I could ask this one here to be moved a little bit closer in, so that you're an equal four. And then there's always the 4 cycles of life: baby, child, pre-adult, and adult. And then so those 4 cycles are met. So always in 4s, 2, 4, 6, 8, always the even number is used. So 4 directions, as we brush them with the cedar bough, we're doing the 4 directions. So your whole body represents those directions. And then so the brushings are done. In your time of need, your blankets are your comfort. They're covering your heart. And then each, even up here, should be tied. That's your spirit part, is your forehead. And so always cover yourself in time of need for comfort. If you've experienced something during the day, and your blanket represents that you always use the blankets. And we have a hoop. Usually at home we can cut a branch from the tree and we form a hoop. Then we pass you through. So that's your beginning of your passage. You go through the passage and out through, and your family meets you on the other side the hoop, and then they hold your hand and help you through the hoop and sing a song or rattle or drum you through. And then that's the beginning of your new days that's coming to you. So that each family member that you have here will help them through that hoop, and so that you're always supporting. And in our communities, we say it takes a community to raise a child. So look at the work they've done on their own. That tells you the strength, inner strength that they've used, exercised to get themselves here. As we begin and we blanket them and help them through the passage, then they've already started that. Each individual has to now search for what best they need to strengthen themselves inner and outer. So as they build their life, they're building their path. So then it begins their journey. Oh, you have done.
I'm going to speak to your family first, and then I'm going to come and talk to you. Dear ones, I'm going to speak to you first. I want to tell you that the prayers that have been brought forward, the songs that have been brought forward, the brushing that have been brought forward, the talk, and just the energy that moves around is also for you, because you're sitting here. And as we know, when you're in this community, you are family. So what we're doing is we're splitting those teachings so that it becomes part of you as well. Whatever happens to you from this day forward, we would like you to remember this energy and move it. Dear ones, I really want to thank you for coming today. I'm just very quickly going to tell you, you know, that the blanket that has been provided to you, any sadness that you had, any sorrow that you had, any issues that you might carry, and we all carry these things. These are meant to, as you were sung down here, as this wonderful woman started to talk to you. You let those things go, because as the old people told us, today is a new day. Many of your ancestors, many of your relatives, many of your old people wanted the best for you no matter what happened, even if it's 2 or 3 generations before. As you keep yourselves clean, as you know the joy of a new day, as you continue to really develop this wonderful sense of humor that we all have, that we all must have in order to cope, the teachings will flow. That's how come the old people, wherever we were, told us, be clean, be strong. Especially because we don't have control over what's going to happen to us. So in days to come, then you would remember the songs, remember the advice that was given, remember that you were covered, and that you have never been alone. When you feel, our old people told us, and I'm going to finish now, succinct. Oh, yeah, yeah. She's going to sing a song.
So
I
I'm
will.
going to wave the cedar at you, and I'll interpret the song after I sing it. Because the language gives you strength. I'm going to sing it to your heart, okay? Hai cha, ha, ha. Hai cha, ha, hai cha, ha, ha. You are sacred. You are sacred. You are sacred. So sacred. Ai cha, ai te siama tane koia, ti khomi te wata ko tane koeli magskoia. Ai chanel tanawa sait te shel. Houts koel ko elatan na haasan atul khile shaicha.
So before I introduce Todd, normally what we do is we make commitments to people when we're honoring them through different stages of their life. So we give commitments, and sometimes, for example, if the gift that we have, let's say if I was a canoe maker, then I would offer to teach these people how to make canoes so that they could always transport themselves and provide for themselves, you know. In my culture also, we used to go, when we wanted to marry someone, we would go and live with that family for a whole year to show that we could provide for them and hunt and fish and do all the things. So today, Todd is going to be giving commitments on behalf of the CBRC, and these people are representative of the Indigenous community.
Thank you. So last year, the CBRC started a partnership with Rocky James and Kevin Barlow at the Metro Vancouver Aboriginal Executive Council. As part of our commitment to the Truth and Reconciliation recommendations, we've continued that partnership, even expanding it to include a two-spirit, even Indigenous consultation in May, as well as reaching out to elders like Bill White to support him in offering a workshop at this summit. CBRC wishes to continue this journey of truth and reconciliation by officially welcoming Indigenous, gay, bisexual, and two-spirit men to our summit, and indeed to our entire organization. We recognize the contributions Indigenous men have made to CBRC, and we look forward to the potential each person today brings. Our welcome gifts to you include a commitment to pursuing the truth and reconciliation recommendations, a commitment to creating a safe space for Indigenous, gay, bi, and two-spirit men, a commitment to include Indigenous content in our summit program, a commitment to use data collected from our communities in ways that are beneficial to those communities, and a commitment to continual engagement and dialogue with our Indigenous partners to ensure they are represented and supported by our work.
Ait native, CM Mistimo, Aintha Theustin, Quatis, and Simultan. My English name is Rocky James. Good morning, my respected ones. I've been working with the Metro Vancouver Aboriginal Executive Council for the past 2 years as the Community Engagement and Policy Analyst. And I've had the pleasure of working with Jody and the rest of the staff at the CBRC and the Board of Directors as well, trying to enhance Indigenous participation at the Community-Based Research Centre. At MVAEC, we believe in all of our work that culture is the intervention. Culture guides all of our actions. We really work hard at making sure that communities understand that Indigenous people are more than just numbers, that they are human beings with hearts, and that we need, in order for us to take care of their health behavior, we need to lead them through ceremony. As a co-Salish person, it is my responsibility to host people And to do that through the CBRC, it's important that we find the best way to acknowledge all Indigenous participants. And traditionally, how that would happen as a child was growing up in an Indigenous community, there would be different phases of acknowledging them throughout their life in the community. And one of them would be a rites of passage as they start to mature into adulthood. And this is where people would receive their teachings on how they're going to guide themselves through the rest of their life. What happens now is we walk into a clinic or we make an appointment with a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and by that point, it's kind of too late. The intervention is too late. It should have started well before they'd walked into the office, well before they had participated in a survey. And so that's the point of doing this. This is our best way of hosting Indigenous people from across the country, whether they're Mi'kmaq, Coast Salish, or Dene. And another point of this is to walk them into their leadership. And Kevin often refers to a Mohawk teaching that when you're a leader, your skin needs to be 7 hides thick, so that when people shoot arrows at you, you can handle it. And so that's a teaching from out east about blanketing ceremonies. So I'd like to thank everybody for creating a space where we could acknowledge a traditional form of health behavior, introducing health behavior to people. And just raise my hands and thanks. Haichikasiyam. All right.
Now they're available for marriage?
Yep.
Thank you, everyone. I assure you, I've never used the word succinct when speaking with Bill White. I know better. I know better. Thank you. Our next item on the program is Dr. Mark Gilbert, and he's going to be setting the stage for combination prevention here in British Columbia. I'm sorry, Mark. I realize that in my haste of preparation this morning, your slides aren't here, but I'm just going to grab them out into the hallway. So if you want to come on up, I'll grab your slides. I apologize for that. Thanks.